Good morning, guys, and welcome along to another webinar, this time on GIS Extension for GeoEnviron. It's going to be hosted by me today, Tyree. Many of you will know me from a lot of different avenues and perhaps with webinars that are already on YouTube. So hopefully you'll enjoy today's webinar and we can get cracking on that. As I say, today's webinar is going to be on YouTube for you to watch. Just to enable you to watch at your own pace, learn some of the concepts, and better utilize the software in your daily work life. So, an introduction, a warm welcome to everyone. This is actually an offline recording. We're just doing that to upload to YouTube. Obviously, there were people there for the live webinar this morning, but we thought we would upload to YouTube so that everyone can see and, as I say, watch at their own pace and learn some of these concepts. Today's schedule, we're going to have a brief introduction about myself, STM Environmental, GeoEnviron, as well as some of the features that we'll be covering today before we dive right in and have a look at it in action in GIS. We're then going to have a short recap where we sort of look at what we covered today, just in case there was any sort of niggling doubts, and then we're going to have some question and answers for you guys to sort of have your say and so we can engage with you. So it's a brief look at myself, us, and the software. Myself, I'm from an environmental management background. I graduated from the University of Manchester last summer and have been working at STM since January 2017. Really enjoying my time here. You might know me from webinars, software, and also some of the marketing emails that I've sent out. And on that note, there's going to be a few more marketing emails being sent out, so please do keep an eye out for Tyree at STM Environmental, where I'll be sort of communicating when the next webinar is, as well as other information that might be prudent to your local authority, as well as, you know, newsletters and things like that, just to keep you up to date with what's going on at STM. About us, we're an environmental consultancy, about 15 years old now, believe it or not. We specialize in data management. So we've worked a lot with local authorities in producing data management solutions for them. So that's part of our public consultancy. We also do private consultancy based in Twickenham, whereby, you know, we conduct things like flood risk assessments and things like that for the general public. So we have a bit of an understanding of how both systems work, and that obviously puts us in good stead to help provide the best sort of software solutions as well in our public consultancy. About GeoEnviron, developed in Denmark by a company called Geocon, and our director Simon has brought it over to the UK, where it's being used by over 80 local authorities currently. So very, very popular, especially popular in Denmark, where over 95% of local authorities use it. So this is a tried and tested system, something that works really well and, you know, fulfills every need. You know, we have people ring us up and say, you guys have thought of everything, and, you know, really have. It's the data management system out there, and hopefully you'll agree once seeing some of the capabilities of it. So guys, I think it's time to talk about what we're going to do today. Diving right in, we're going to have a look at adding a site. So we'll learn how to add, edit, delete, link and unlink a site in GeoEnviron. Don't worry if I'm going a bit fast, we'll slow it down for the GIS. We're also going to be looking at linking it, so we can see how the link between GeoEnviron, the GIS extension, as well as the database works. And we'll talk about the concept of that and, you know, how you can utilize it for your workload. Other issues, we'll look at how to refresh a layer as well as look up a site. So these are little things that enable you to sort of manage your data effectively. We get a lot of calls on the software support line asking how to refresh a layer. So we thought we would make it easy for you guys and have an online video for you to watch in your own time in case you ever need to. And as I say, a lot of those calls, you know, it is as simple as just refreshing the layer to solve some of the issues that people are having with the GIS extension. So guys, I think it's about time that we dive in dive into the GIS. So here you can see we're just on, let's zoom out a little bit while that loads. We're in Turnsteads in Greenall Glane. Interesting name that. But we're going to be drawing a site now using the GIS extension. So here we have the GIS extension right at the top here. As you can see, we've got all these features here. The one we're going to be using right now is this little pen tool, which is draw and link a feature in GeoEnviron. So if we click on that, that enables us to begin drawing a polygon around the site that we want to create in the database. So say, for example, this little unit right here, click down, and as you like, start drawing the feature. And when you're on the last point of the feature, you double click, and then that brings up this this box, which enables you to filter by site type. So here, from here, you can retrieve a site. So for example, we can retrieve a site. So if you've already created a site in the database and you simply just want to draw a polygon that links to that site, you hit the retrieve button and then select the one that you want. You can search for a site. Notably, this is only once you've hit retrieve you can search. So if we search 001, and it will find one with 001 in the ID. So here, 17 Riverside. But what we want to do is we want to create a new site. So I'm going to run through the simple creation of site. Is just simply you hit that button and it pops up with this, where you choose the site type. So we're going to choose private project, site ID, and also the site name. So for the site name, we're going to call it test 00123. Click OK. Oh, site ID is required, sorry. And you just choose the prefix for that, which is essentially, so if you're working from contaminated land, it might be PCL. If it's flood risk assessment, it might be FRA. So we're going to choose private and click OK, and that fills in the site ID. So once you have all these three fields clicked, click OK, and it brings up the database with the site. So let's just have a look at this polygon. We see that now this is linked in your GIS. So it's a polygon in GIS, but also a polygon in GeoEnviron, the database. So from here, building on from what we did last time in the other webinar, which you might want to watch, if we're losing you a bit here, but you just go, say for example, location, we'll put Twickenham, street, we can select a street, so Durham Street, current use, we can select a car park. All this is obviously random, but it's just an example of how you sort of fill out the database, and click update. And there you have a site in the database that's saved. And now what we can do is we can look up the site, so I've closed down GeoEnviron there, and now we look up the site by clicking this button here, the big G, clicking on the feature, and you'll notice it turns a light blue, and it gives you the information on that site in GIS so that you can quickly see. And if you want to look it up further, you hit up GeoEnviron lookup, and it brings up the database where you can have a look at all the other features. As I say, from here, you might want to look at the other webinar on how to sort of manage your GeoEnviron database, as it will enable you to sort of really fill out all these fields and get all the data that you have in one place where you can easily manage and see, and just for that seamless data management. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to edit the polygon. So you can see here the editor has been initialized because we've clicked on this button here, this one here, and this enables us to edit a polygon. So this might be if you want to change the shape of a polygon. We know when we're often doing PCL sites and we're looking through old maps and things like that, that a site size might change. It might go from being a small, unit to sort of being, developed into a larger industrial site or something like that. And you might want to edit the size of the polygon without having to delete it and then redraw it, and it just saves a lot of time. So what we do is we double click on the polygon once we've clicked that button there, and then double click on a corner to set the corner that stays the same, and then the rest of them we can edit and drag by clicking on and dragging in another direction. So we hit double click and it will say, do you want to save your edits? Yes, obviously we want to save our edits because this site might have changed shape into this lovely triangle. We click OK, and edits successfully saved and updated in GeoEnviron. So that means now when you look up the site in GeoEnviron, so let's, for demonstration purposes, we'll zoom all the way out. So we'll just let that load, and what we're going to do next is we're going to look up that site using the database. So say you had this whole map of the town and you couldn't find it. What you would do is you'd find it in the database using the find retrieve feature by clicking find and searching for test 00123, and then hit retrieve, and then click open in GIS. And now while that loads, and then you see it zooms right in to that feature, one feature selected on one GeoEnviron layer. So that's a really nifty tool. A lot of people use it, especially if it saves that sort of, zooming out, zooming in, grid reference finder, all that sort of stuff. You can instantly zoom to a site just by clicking one button, and it saves so much time in the long run, which is another reason why we really endorse this system, and we think, it's the data management system. Okay, next we're going to be looking at how to delete a GeoEnviron feature. So first, if you have a polygon that you want to link to GeoEnviron, you can click the link feature. But today we're going to be looking at delinking and deleting a feature. So we click on there, first clicking this button, and it brings up the delete feature dialog. You have chosen to unlink the feature from GeoEnviron. Choose whether you'd also like to delete the resulting unlinked feature in the map or retain it for relinking. So we're going to retain the feature, but now the feature is no longer linked to the database now that we click that button. So that means we've got a polygon and the database, but no link between them. So now what we have to do is link it back again. So using this feature, link to GeoEnviron record, click on the site again, and it brings up the project, and it brings up unlinked features. So it's really easy. You just click link record, retrieve, and we're going to search test, and then we find test, test 110123. I've got the name wrong there. We'll just go for test anyway. double click there, and the object has been linked to GeoEnviron again. And the way to check that is just to click the GeoEnviron lookup tool we used earlier, click on there, and now do the GeoEnviron lookup. And as you see, because I couldn't remember the name of the site, we've linked it to another test site. But you can check and make sure that your features match. So the polygon says it's linking to the same thing that you want it to. Now, what we're going to do now is delete a site. So again, remove link to GeoEnviron record. What we want to do is remove the link and then delete it. So again, same process before. Click on that, click on the remove link button, and we want to delete the feature now. And as you can see, the feature's been deleted, the polygon, but there's still a site in the database. Do you want to delete the site in the database? In this case, yes, we do. So we'll click yes, and the site has been deleted. So another issue that people might have now that we've moved on from some of the tools in the toolbar is that you might have this, no valid GeoEnviron layers. So what you need to do there is refresh. So by clicking that button there, it brings up the refresh. And what you might want to do in the future, I'll show you, is configure auto refresh so you don't have to do this. So if we click refresh existing layers, if your database has been set up correctly, it will have the layers you want. Click OK. And now that's refreshing in the background there, as you can see by the progress bar in ArcGIS. So while we let that load, the next thing we're going to be covering is creating a new layer. So perhaps you're setting up a project for the first time. So we're going to cover how to do that. So as you can see, refresh completed, 148 features. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. And now this brings up a more detailed thing. So for example, here we have the module, which means what unit of GeoEnviron are you using? So it could be contaminated land, flood assets, all that sort of stuff. So you choose what's applicable to you. You choose the site type that's applicable to you, and then the map sheet ID that's applicable to you. And then you hit polygons, or perhaps it's a polyline, or perhaps it's a point, or all three. And then you hit refresh, and that will redraw the layer for you, and it will be linked. So then all of a sudden you have all the information from the database being plotted in GIS, as long as it has GIS coordinates. Okay guys, I think that's enough information to be bamboozled with today. I think we're going to go back to the presentation, just recap a little bit of what we did in GIS there. Obviously, as I say, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can pause and go back, rewind if something was going too fast. And if you have any questions at all about this, then feel free to leave them in the comment section below, where we'll get back to you and hopefully address any issues that you may have with the software. So let's recap some of the features we learnt today. Adding a site. It's a simple process of just drawing a polygon and then linking it to the database GeoEnviron. And essentially that builds that link between the two components where you have GIS on one side and the database on the other, and all of a sudden you have a band joining them together that enables you to sort of draw information out of both at the same time. Linking a site, it's easy once you know how. It links to the database and changes are saved between them. As I say, that's that band that we're talking about that runs between the two components. Other issues, how to refresh a layer. Honestly, we get so many calls about this, we thought we'd make it into a webinar so that people can see in their own time how to refresh a layer in GeoEnviron, because it does resolve a lot of issues that people might have with the software. Also, we looked at how to look up a site in the database in GIS using that big G, and hopefully you guys can use that in your day-to-day work. Okay, guys, that's going to be all from me today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. We'll see you next time. Simon, our director, is actually having that webinar on brownfield registers and how upcoming changes to legislation may require planners and contaminated land officers to think about how they manage their sites. And Simon's going to be delving into how GeoEnviron can be used in that scenario, and how a company with over 15 years experience dealing with this sort of stuff can help you manage those changes in the legislative process. Thank you for watching, guys. This has been an STM webinar. I've been Tyree. I hope you have a lovely day. Cheers for watching. Bye.